a very promising start, well, qualifying, you should say, for Joseph Newgarden.
Yes, another good start for Joseph, looking for a great result. Look at Graham Rahal. He thought he was going to qualify at the back. He saw Montoya had problems. They put a good setup on it in qualifying. Ends up 5th. Carlos Munoz, the 2nd Honda runner in line, and Justin Wilson, the 3rd. And the 4th, Hunter Ray. So Honda's pretty strong in qualifying.
Last time we were at an oval was Iowa Speedway, Steve, and RHR was strong. A terrific victory there. But you start getting back into the depth of the field. We now go back to that worrisome qualifying from the Ganassi guys. You get deep. Put yourself in, the team manager, the lead engineer, the strategist. What do you tell your guys early on about a 500 miler?
Well, it's all about being consistent. It's all about keeping up with the program. At that point of the race, just keep solid. Those guys that are further back in the pack, and we've already talked about Montoya, those guys that are further back, they've got to let this race come to them. You can very easily lose a race on the opening laps, but you're not going to win it. You've got to stay consistent right through this very long, grueling race.
Have to give some props to Pippa Mann. That was an encouraging qualifying position as she outdid the likes of Briscoe, Montoya, Sage Karam, who was quick in qualifying PT. It didn't work out for the youngster in qualifying.
No, they threw a strange setup at it. Look at Ed Carpenter again. He's struggling near the back. His teammate up front. Huge crash by Charlie Kimball in qualifying, and Stefano Coletti crashed in the practice, and they couldn't get the car ready for qualifying. So, you know, like Steve said, I mean, you're at the back here for Montoya. He's got to be careful not to get involved in somebody else's problem here as we go green and just get through the first couple pit stops.
All right, we're going to rely heavily on our onboards today during this 500 miles, and we go on board the man who had a spectacular ride yesterday, Charlie Kimball, with thanks to Novolog. We'll have this and some other views of the 83 Chip Ganassi car. The points leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, and he has this view with thanks to the naming rights sponsor of the series, of course, Verizon. We'll share this view. Ryan Briscoe, is today the day that he delivers whilst filling in for James Hinchcliffe. We'll see. Ryan has had some good ones, and his view is brought to us by Lucas Oil. To Tony Kanan, TK, with thanks to NTT Data, we'll have this view. And Tony has some very much unfinished business at this racetrack, as he will openly tell you. We transition to his teammate, Scott Dixon. We'll have this helmet cam and some other views as well aboard the three-time champion's car. And Graham Rahal brings us the Verizon streaming aboard the Steak and Shake car. Remember, it's adrenaline on demand. Download the IndyCar 15 mobile app to get amazing live streams from in-car cameras and a whole lot more, only from Verizon. And of course, you remember the new light system on the side of the cars that will give you the updated positions, including the stops, the duration of the pit stops. So, as we mentioned in IndyCar Live, the captain, Roger Penske, can he do the double? Steve and I have done the double today. Can the captain do the double? Joey Logano last night at Bristol. Can one of his 4 drivers do it here today? So much excitement surrounding this event, not only because it's at Pocono for the 3rd year in a row, it's the final oval of the year, the final 500 miler. Let's go. Do we get a clean start? It's waved off.
No start.
Brian Barnhart in race control, not happy with Elio Castro Neves and the Penske duo at the front. The field not packed up, and that was messy to say the best.
I don't know what was going on there, but Castro Neves went on the entry to turn 3, and you would think he would at least give the courtesy to the guys in the middle of the field to get around the corner. So I was a little bit over-optimistic on that one. I think he wanted to get it spread out, get it going.
Yeah, overly keen to get going, I think that.
So a chance to regroup. And there's the acceleration zone there. You see the cones hanging off the fence. So, and there's the end of it. So that's in that period, in that part of the track where you can go. And race control, we can tell you this from the meetings that we have with the guys, from Brian and everybody. Derek Walker in his second to last event, they want them packed up tight.
And don't forget, the straightaway is longer than the straightaway at Indianapolis. This is the longest straightaway in racing. So lots of drafting. There's going to be some passing. Go.
Elio anxious to go again. And I think they're going to wave this off again.
You'll be looking for a penalty if you keep pulling that move.
Yellow flag again.
That is not a smart move by Castro Neves to be going that early. One more of those, and you could get put to the back.
Elio is anxious. Remember, he is one of our championship contenders. He's 4th in the points race. But again, just watch this. He's right alongside his teammate. But this is just so obvious, so blatant. And Simon Pagenaud wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's way, way, way too early. So Simon's like, hey, what's going on here? They should be waiting till they get around off of turn 3 before they even go. So I'm sure he's going to get a warning here.
And we can confirm that. Race control have communicated to...
Side on that steady pace right there until you exit turn 3. You're going too early.
Simple as that.
Yeah, you're going too early. You can't do it.
Ready to go. Third time lucky, perhaps? We'll see.
Still going early. Look at...
He is again. And he's gone before that acceleration zone once again. Will we see green this time? Are they going to be happy with it? It looks like it is. Yeah, green here.
Green.
Time to bring the action in Pocono.
Well, you can see why he wanted to go early. He got swarmed and has been passed by 3 cars down the front straightaway, Steve.
Joseph Newgarden right around the outside.
Got
Straight to
around
the
the
lead.
outside. Will Power trying to make a move also down low, but absolutely right, PT. It didn't take long, did it? Absolutely swarmed straight out of the start.
Look at that blue and silver car. Justin Wilson in the Honda for Andretti Autosport. He's already up into the top 5.
Will Power was on the bottom in turn 1 and had a huge moment, a huge wiggle. He got to get out of the throttle and lost a bunch of positions.
Graham Rahal in that first all-red car. Almost contact with Carlos Munoz. And Tony Kanaan is hot, Steve, to get going early.
Yeah, all of these guys again. And look at this line forming. Is
Look at Justin Wilson. He's moved up a few spots. He's right on the back.
Remember the last race at Mid-Ohio, Justin Wilson finished runner-up. He had a shot at winning it, but he said, I didn't want to do anything to disrupt Graham Rahal's race. He's in it for the championship. I'm kind of here part-time, helping Andretti Autosport and Honda out. Let's ride with the man who's a championship hopeful, Graham Rahal.
He's got this one.
Looking inside.
No, he's going to have to keep it down tight and use the draft on the front straightaway. If he can hold it tight here, he should have no problem drafting up and getting all the way down here on the front straight.
-1, +2. Mix 3.
You can hear Graham on the throttle. He's not able to go flat in this draft. He's having to check the throttle a little bit through the middle of the corner, upshifting on this short straight to the tunnel turn. Right now, Steve, everybody's probably settled in now and thinking, okay, now it's where we're at. Let's save a little fuel and see how this all plays out.
yeah, it was a very fast and frantic.
Restart aboard Graham Rahal. Watch Carlos Munoz to his right. Does he get a better start? Munoz and he were going wheel to wheel through the first 2 turns. There goes Munoz. This is Honda on Honda. Whoa! And there goes Justin Wilson. He went whipping on through on the inside.
Yeah.
Not a lot of favors from your Honda teammates on that one, so pretty tricky start.
Watch this. These guys almost came together, Munoz and Rahal down the back straight.
Wow, that close.
Frantic opening lap. So we reset the order. It's Joseph Newgarden over the yellow Penske entry there of Simon Pagenaud. Back to our pole sitter, Elio Castro Neves. The next car, the blue and silver machine for Andretti Autosport, is Justin Wilson. But Joseph Newgarden said, I want to finish this year on a high. I want to finish as high as I can in the championship. He's a 2-time winner. He's 8th in the championship standings. And he said, I would like to win 1 more. Maybe he could win 3. Who knows, Jan?
And he was so happy with his car in qualifying after he and his teammate Ed Carpenter said, we're lost. They threw something on the car. He went out for qualifying and said, this car is awesome. If I would have known that, I would have been quicker. And boy, did he ever show that on the green.
Yeah, absolutely, Jan. And Newgarden just, after that start, just absolutely superb. I can see now why Castanevis was so keen to get going, if that's the pace of those cars in that 2nd and 3rd row.
Back to 5.
Pagenaud trying to go with Newgarden. And he too has his own special mission. Remember that Simon Pagenaud is not mathematically directly out of this championship with more than 150 points on offer, and Simon is 136 back from his Penske teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya. Biggest mover in this race is a rookie. Gabby Chavez has made up 4 positions from his starting spot in his Brian Herter Autosport machine. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by MAV TV, Motorsport Network, your destination for all things motorsport. Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger and proud sponsor of the number 15 and Graham Rahal. So glad you could be with us here today on NBCSN, but a quick reminder that you can watch today's IndyCar race online at NBCSports.com on mobiles and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. You won't miss a moment. Now, you may have seen this at home if you ducked away. Pippa Mann has had some problems with her number 18 Dale Coyne Honda. We're led to believe it was stuck in second gear for a moment. She was limping around. She's finally made it back. As we welcome you back, Joseph Newgarden, the young American from Hendersonville, Tennessee, who was part of that unique foursome at Iowa. The first time in 14 years, the top 4 positions in an IndyCar race had been locked out by all Americans. And Jan, he's led 11 of the 13 laps thus far.
Yes, and when you lead 11, when you look at Simon Pagenaud, they're lurking. That's what Simon wants. They want someone to go out and be the rabbit and lead, because your fuel economy is significantly better when you follow. It's 500 miles. You're planning for the end of the race. Of course, this is great for Newgarden, but they know if it keeps up this way, he'll probably have to pit a lap or so earlier than many of the others.
Let's take a look at Joseph Newgarden's performances this year on ovals. Top 10 at the Indy 500, which was commendable. However, his best, as I just mentioned, he was part of that unique foursome at Iowa Speedway, the 7/8 of a mile track, just a couple of races ago, and that was a real high point for him. 2 years in a row, he's finished second. However, Paul Tracy, let's take a look back at his start, and it was pretty speedy.
Wow, lots of draft here. As you can see, that's why Castro Neves wanted to go so early. He wanted to have a big lead, and then you see Newgarden pop to the outside. He's got the preferred line, just sweeps on past those guys and chops across the nose of the 2 Penske cars.
That high line, Paul, there was absolutely the way to go, because Will Power had gone down low, and all of a sudden he was just out of the equation.
I'll tell you one thing, guys, that I just noticed that we haven't hit on yet is Graham Rahal is your new points leader. By running in 7th and Montoya in 14th, this is the first time this year we have a new points leader. We're on board with Juan now. He's made up some positions. He's made up about 4 or 5 positions, but he's got a long way to go to catch those leaders, and it's tough to pass here. Your car really has to be perfect.
You know what he's doing, PT? He and Briscoe are kind of working in tandem. Briscoe's made up 7 positions. Montoya's made up 5. But Robin Miller, let's turn the spotlight back on our race leader, Joseph Newgarden.
Think about this, Lee. This is silly season time, except there's really no stories. Looks like Bourdais is going back with KV. AJ Foyt seems to like Sato and Jack Hawksworth for next year. There's no seats open at Penske. There's no seats open at Ganassi. Those are the preferred seats. Andretti looks pretty set. So Paul Tracy can really talk about this as we watch Joseph again, is that, you know, he was bought out one time and farmed out by Roger Penske to the Newman Haas team in 1995, and the most important thing was Penske didn't want to lose him. So you're thinking, why wouldn't Roger Penske or Chip Ganassi do this? Because you want to keep this kid. He's a young guy that's got all this potential, and wrap him up when one of your older guys quits.
A little further down the order, so it's Newgarden, Pagenaud, Castro Neves, Wilson, Power, Munoz, Rahal, Dixon, and then a little further back in 11th, we pick up Ryan Briscoe. But again, I reiterate that point, Steve. He's made up 7 positions in the opening 17 laps.
Yeah, we pick him up here. Ryan Briscoe on board, and has picked up some good positions. Those gaps now are beginning to become a little more stable. And back up the front with Newgarden and Pagenaud running kind of on their own there, and a little bit of a gap back to Castro Neves. But again, as we touched on earlier on, there is a long way to go.
You won't know this story, mate, because you weren't with us at the Milwaukee Mile. But this man here, Tony Kanaan, accused you of being in the Ryan Briscoe fan club at Fontana. I know that's not the case, but TK found it amusing.
That's why it's nice to know they're watching.
Oh, had to get out of it there as he came up abruptly on his teammate.
Yeah, you'll see these two guys will be working together. Obviously, Kanaan knows his position in the team, and that is right now it's to help his teammate try and win the championship.
Tony Kanaan, in his own words and many other people's, should have been the winner here last year. Came up 4 laps shy due to low fuel.
Well, he had plenty of those last year, heartbreaks. He was able to get through and win at the final race of the season, but he's had a bit of a frustrating year this year. He had momentum at the end of last year, and it hasn't translated into this season.
Already, we know we're not going to get the wild race that we saw at Auto Club Speedway Fontana.
Well, I mean, it's early days yet. I mean, we're only just beginning here, so let's let things play out. And as we get towards the end of the race, that's when it'll get wild. But most of these guys right now are just basically fuel mileage racing. They're trying to save fuel, wait for the first pit stop, and get through that.
Getting in the groove, so to speak.
Yeah.
Of the 200 laps, you'll see it play out just like an Indianapolis 500, where you want to be there in those last 30 to 40. Stefano Coletti on pit road. One of the rookies in this field had a pretty awkward incident earlier this week where he hit walls on both sides of the track.
Yeah, it was a strange incident. He got high in turn 3, hit the wall, and then kind of came down the front straightaway fairly quickly, and the car made an abrupt left-hand turn into the inside wall. So I'm sure the team and Jimmy Vassar shook their heads a little bit at that one.
Sure, they're not sure what they were doing to Coletti's car there, Paul. They had the right front wheel, rim, and tyre off as they were working around the brake, but it was obviously taking it a long time.
Ryan Briscoe has never qualified better than 16th, except for his second place start at Milwaukee. When I asked him why they have so much trouble in qualifying, he says, we would really much rather focus on our race car. It's just a team decision. We're able to dig ourselves out of that hole. So you see Ryan Briscoe being the biggest mover today here at Pocono.
And Ryan has some unfinished business as well. Remember the great runs that he'd had earlier in the year, all to no avail. Back up front, it's looking good for CFH Racing, and that's the F in CFH. That's Sarah Fisher, a very accomplished driver in her own right, now co-team owner, and her 24-year-old American driver, Joseph Newgarden, has led 19 laps so far.
Joseph Newgarden continues to lead here at Pocono. Graham Rahal, who came in 9 points behind Juan Pablo Montoya in the championship, continues to drop a few spots. 8th, now back to 9th. He said the car is fine. Many are talking about handling problems and understeer. He said we're just not fast enough. We're going to need to trim out at the first pit stop. Jan?
And you're talking about what's going to happen in pit stop. Sarah Fisher, of course, watching Joseph Newgarden. You said that Joseph is a little bit loose. Is that correct? He's going to take some front wing out?
Yes, just a little bit. You know, we're just running our race, getting into the rhythm, and just making some fine-tune adjustments.
But the way this weekend started, this has got to just be very encouraging because it didn't start well, and now it seems like it's all nice and balanced.
Well, you know, a little bit of weather change, a little bit of day and hour change, and here we are. So we're just lucky, but everybody else has the same conditions, so we're facing that too.
Okay, well, if your car's a little bit loose, what you want to do is you want to be leading. They'll adjust that in the first stop. And, of course, Joseph Newgarden would love to win a race on an oval, as you said, Lee.
Well, Jan, as we all know, Joseph Newgarden is a real star. He's not only a rising star, he's a star now. GP3 in Europe, a very diverse driver, his Indy Lights title, and then, of course, coming to IndyCar. But it took a while for him to get that first IndyCar win. Paul Tracy, how different were you as a person, as a driver, after you cracked that first one? You got that first IndyCar win.
Well, I mean, I think for any driver, once you are able to win the first race, it opens the floodgates, and it just is the same for Rahal. Even though he had won a race 7 years earlier, as soon as he won again, oh, we got our first leader, which is Newgarden coming in the pits.
Leader on pit road as we race lap 29.
And watch for the front wing change that Sarah Fisher just told us about. They're going to take a little bit out. This is early if you were saving fuel, but we talked about the fact in there, they decided not to do the wing after all. They did it with tire pressure. So just over 8-second stop for Joseph Newgarden. It'll put him in a different cycle. Again, he's going full gas and burning fuel. The people behind are saving fuel.
Yeah, look like the mechanics, Jan, look like the mechanics were very eager to change that front wing. Maybe heard over their radio, no, we've decided against it. But the mechanic's hand was on the adjuster.
See more cars peeling off. Those Penske cars are making good fuel mileage. That's a 2-lap advantage over Newgarden for Pagano.
Scott Dixon, of course, who was great at making fuel mileage, is also going a little bit of the Joseph Newgarden way and deciding, let's go for it. And there's a caution. So this is going to work for Scott Dixon or anybody else who's on their way into pit lane.
Jack Hawksworth, as Ray Hall is released, Hawksworth appeared to have lost a wheel. He has set the fastest lap in this race, but what has happened to the young Englishman? Jack Hawksworth in the ABC supply car for AJ Foyt Racing has indeed lost a rear left wheel.
And that's a massive penalty for Castroneves, Power, and Pagano. Now they're stuck and having to pit under yellow. They'll go to the back of the field now.
He had just pitted, and there it is. Jack Hawksworth, who has not such good memories of this Pocono Raceway after a massive accident in practice here last year. One that he will never forget when he slammed into the wall at around just under 200 miles an hour. Now, the youngster, the second-year racer, really has his hands full to try and get back to pit lane. So, Simon Pagano, race leader, did not pit. And we go down the order as everybody will regroup as we fast approach quarter race distance. And everybody gets to regroup, communicate at a little bit more of a slower pace, Steve, as to how their cars have been in this opening stint and what needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, and it was a very unusual situation with that wheel coming off, wasn't it? You can have to assume just pit error by the mechanics trying to get the car out. But the problem now is how much damage done to the underside of the car. Let's have a look in replay, see if we can see what happened.
So he's none of those guys there.
No.
Not in that group. So that's Briscoe Canaan and Ryan Hunter-Ray with their respective race off pit road. There's Graham Rahal. And it was a pretty tight race indeed. So, Pagano, Power, Castroneves, Sage, Karam, and Montoya yet to pit, and this is where it happened.
Right at the exit of turn 1, left rear out.
Charlie Kimball will give us a pretty interesting view here.
Luckily, it was the inside rear tire which allowed it to roll towards the inside of the track. If it was the outside rear tire, it would have rolled out onto the track more than what it was right there for Montoya. So that was a very lucky thing for Montoya there.
That was close enough, wasn't it?
Remember what happened last time we were on an oval at Iowa. This man here, the points leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, had a suspension failure. It slammed him in to the turn 1 wall.
Open, we're going to add total. We'd like to try the total. 10-4.
This is not a great break for Montoya being not pitting, so this is going to keep him towards the back of the field.
All right, now there's a scramble on pit lane. It is going to be busy down there. Katie, we're going to kick it off with you.
Simon Pagano leans on team advisor and 3-time Pocono winner Rick Mears when it comes to ovals. Today, Rick said patience is key. His team said just settle in. Kevin?
Juan Pablo Montoya went a little lighter on downforce than many to start the race, but they're going to add some on this pit stop. Montoya taking a little extra time.
And Castroneves just leaves, and he just misses the tire of Bourdais, and he loses a position. And guys, they added a bunch of front wing to Castroneves.
Our pole sitter, Elio Castroneves. Is this when he finally gets his first win of 2015? Is this when he really takes a major step forward in this championship? And at AJ Foyt Racing, there might be still a little bit of head scratching going on. Check this out at Team Penske. This is Elio Castroneves.
See how much front wing they did put into the car here to try and make the front of the car a little more solid. There it is. Actually quite a significant front wing adjustment, as Jan was explaining.
It's always tight exiting on IndyCar pit roads. No different there for Elio. Back to Pocono in just a moment. What turn 4? That's right. 3 are enough. More than enough. Here at the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway. I'm going to take you back to this story. Look down midway, right of your screen. Jack Hawksworth there and this rear wheel issue. And there's lots of waving. No, 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 we're not ready.
Yeah, just miscommunication again down in the pit lane, as we've seen a couple of times this season. But the guys on the rear of the car simply indicating, hey, we're just nowhere near ready. What are you doing releasing the car? But PT, once the driver gets a signal to go, what are you going to do?
I mean, once the car drops on the ground, that's kind of the signal that I'm going. And the car hit the ground. The wheel nut was not on. He left, and the wheel fell off. So that's all she wrote there. But he's got a wheel now, so he's back with his teammate. Maybe they can work together.
Otto's behind you. Is he on the lead lap? Copy, let him by.
Communication from within inside the AJ Foyt camp. And speaking of the legend AJ Foyt, up against some health issues again, was in hospital again for another operation. AJ, Supertex, we send you all the best wishes and a speedy recovery. Had a suffering from a staph infection again on a knee surgery. So AJ, get better. We want to see you back at the track again soon. Let's get ready to bring the action again. Here we go. Restart, and look at them shadowing each other. Joseph Newgard on the leader. Justin Wilson right in his draft. And the green, white and black car is Carlos Munoz. The youngster goes to the inside.
Munoz pushing now, trying to get down low. Canaan also dropped down low on the restart there, but that wasn't going to work for him. But Munoz still making an advantage, and there's another incident. Bourdais into the wall.
The master of Milwaukee over and out in Pocono.
Wow. What happened there?
The guy who put on an absolute clinic in Wisconsin comes to a pretty severe crunch here. This man who is 6th in the championship chase. Yes, a championship contender mathematically. He's having a really good season. However, it's come to an abrupt end here in Pocono. Young?
And Lee, just before they went green, he was on the radio saying, the throttle is sticking again. So I have no idea if that led to this, but very interesting that before the restart, he was having some type of throttle-related issue.
Well, that's not a good feeling, Steve, to have the throttle stick. We hope that is not the case where he went into turn 1, but let's have a look here.
The view from Charlie Kimball.
He just went in a little too hot and got into gray, and that was it. Unless the throttle hung open a little bit and he had to go into the gray. That's the question mark.
Yeah. That's it exactly, isn't it, PT? Did the driver keep his foot down too much, or did the engine simply do it on its own accord?
At which point do you stop fighting it, or you don't have a choice?
In that case, when you get down into turn 1 here after this long straightaway and you check off the throttle and say, okay, I'm slowing down now, if it continues to keep going, you're kind of a passenger. You really have no time to react. And it looks maybe like that could have been a problem because he just kind of, instead of running into the back of the other car, he ran up into the gray and started to slide. But I hope that is not the case, but it certainly kind of looks that way.
James Sully Sullivan on the left and legendary IndyCar driver, now team owner Jimmy Vasser on our right. And they did not need that to happen. Big picture-wise. What a shame for Seabass, Sebastian Bourdais. He is okay, though. Walked under his own power. Cleanup continues, as you can see the back of your picture there here in the ABC Supply 500 presented by MAV TV, and that is the car of Sebastian Bourdais. And Jan, this is a double whammy because just a few laps ago Stefano Coletti, his teammate, retired, so it's a double hit for the team.
It is, and of course Jimmy Vasser is on the radio to Sebastian Bourdais, and he was talking a little bit about a sticking throttle. Could that have contributed?
You never know till you get back. Looks to us like the throttle was working fine at the restart, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him yet. It looked like, he just got up a little high, and then he got behind Chavez there in turn 1 in some dirty air, and it just came around on him. But, you know, of course, until we talk to him and get back and look at the data, we don't have all the answers. We can just go by what we see. And, you know, we were struggling there a little bit on the first run to try to get the Mystic car right for him. And, you know, it's unfortunate. We really needed to have good race today, good points. And with Coletti going out early, you know, it's a long way back west for some of us. You know, have a short day today.
Well, next on the docket for Jimmy, the home race in Sonoma. Thank you, Jimmy.
You talk about a power operation there when you've got the likes of Jimmy Vasser, a championship-winning driver in his own right, Bourdais, a 4-time champion, Steve Moore, who is just a terrific team leader and strategist, and then you've got veteran engineer Bill Pappas as well, sharing it with you know, the likes of Matt Curry on the other side of things. It's just a really great engineering stuff and a good team, and for them to have a double DNF, that really hurts. How about CFH Racing? The C in the team is this man here, Ed Carpenter, driver of the number 20 Fuzzy Chevrolet. Will not be in the car next weekend in Sonoma, of course. Does not do the road and street courses any longer. They're on to a good thing, bringing in Luca Filippi, who's performed very well, got on the podium, runner-up finish at Toronto earlier this year. They've got a good thing going on, and they've got a really good thing going on at the moment because Newgarden leads the way, and Ed is in the top 10 in 9th.
Well, after qualifying yesterday, he was so frustrated. His car was so bad, and he was unhappy. And then his teammate's car with a slightly different setup was up front, and the option really was to go full stop setup. So let's see what's going on in the pits here.
Cac Hawksworth is going to come in and top off. We saw the replay with the problem with the wheel not staying on, and I did confirm with the team that it was an equipment malfunction. So give some credit to the guys. This is not human error in this case. That was an equipment problem.
Plenty of time, buddy. Plenty of time here.
How frustrating is that, Steve, from a team perspective?
Well, an equipment problem, you know, it is very frustrating, but there must also be communication between the guys working around the car to make sure that everybody is aware the car is ready to be released. If it's not, it shouldn't be released.
So 2 cautions, and we continue to crank out those caution laps as we say thanks for being with us here live on NBCSN. Lee Diffie, Paul Tracy, Steve Matchett, and we've got Robin Miller, Katie Hargett, Jan Beekes, and Kevin Lee working pit road for us here at the Tricky Triangle on a beautiful afternoon. The final oval and the final 500-miler of the year in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Sonoma next weekend, and the 2015 championship is wrapped up, but just who will be our champion as we go back to green here at Pocono? Joseph Newgarden leads the field with a pretty racy Justin Wilson looking strong in second.
That was a pretty good restart by Wilson. He pops out in the draft.
Wilson to the low side and to the lead of the race.
Montoya dropped low also on that restart. I think he was looking at what Munoz did on the previous restart.
And Newgarden wants straight back to the lead. He says, okay, you got it, but I'm not giving it up. So he comes right back into the lead.
Carlos Munoz in third. You've got 2 Andretti Autosport cars right there. Honda powered, chasing the Chevy of Newgarden. And that bright blue car is TK, Tony Kanaan, the series winner back in 04, the Indy 500 winner, a veteran and one of the most loved and liked drivers in this series. Runs a very strong fourth with his target Chip Ganassi teammate Scott Dixon right behind.
Kanaan started this race in 12th and again done a very good job of moving up, as you were saying, Lee.
Parity right now is very good. You got Chevy, Honda, Chevy, Honda. So very, very good parity this weekend. There was some grumbling that Honda said they wouldn't be competitive, but that was a close pass right there.
Ray Hall on Briscoe, and we saw a little bit of that action between those two guys. That Fontana, whoa, that's Ed Carpenter. He is not hanging back as he whips through on the inside of Ryan Briscoe, and that is his 13th positional move, and he's got the points leader Montoya following him right behind.
Briscoe is just getting freight trained after he got mauled by Ray Hall. Now he's got Sage Carroll on the outside looking at him.
Briscoe's losing all sorts of places.
I think that shocked him.
Yeah.
I think that surprised him because that was close. That was crazy close. And Ed Carpenter, who was none too complimentary of the young rookie Sage Karam at Iowa for racing him a little too close and disrespectfully, that was pretty close for Ed on Briscoe.
That was all of those guys were threading the needle, so that's close racing, and hopefully, as this all settles out, we're going to get a lot more of that as the race settles in. We're only quarter distance into this 500-miler.
Now Briscoe's found his feet. The gold and black car. We ride with the Arrow entry for Sam Schmidt and Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. There goes Sage Karam, the rookie. He loves the pace of his car here at Pocono and feels a good result is coming his way at his home track. It's a huge race for the 20-year-old American. Let's check in with Robin Miller.
Lee, Sebastian Bourdais, thankfully, is okay. What happened, kid?
I thought they had cleaned the track, and clearly they didn't. Or I thought the track was clean since they didn't clean it. But, we've been on the yellow for 7 laps, nothing happens. And then you get there at the restart, and you're in a 2.5 groove, and, clearly the right side tires just caught dust and marbles, and that was that. Car spun around and ended our day. So it's a shame, the Mystic guys did a good job, and we had some precious points to bang today, and it's not going to happen.
All right, thanks, kid. Glad you're all right.
Frustrated, disappointed, but healthy and uninjured, Sebastian Bourdais.
So there it is, Paul. No mechanical problem with the throttle, but just dirty track as you start to run too high. Right wheels just caught that grit and pulled the car in.
Now we're going to put a watchful eye on the restart of the championship leader in the Verizon Chevrolet, Juan Pablo Montoya. Let's take you back and let's have a look. Was it a wild ride for JPM? We're about to find out. This Will Power, his teammate up ahead. Simon Pagino is up there as well. Big inside run for Montoya.
Put it on his teammates there, got both of them 5 wide. So,
wow,
pretty brave.
4 cars outside. You don't hear that too often.
No.
Clear.
However, with that being said, we did see it here once last year, and we also saw it earlier this year at Fontana. Joseph Newgarden, still your race leader, over Justin Wilson and Carlos Munoz, Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Graham Rahal, and then Montoya.
Much closer racing now than we saw in the first segment. The guys have got a better handle on their cars. They've all made adjustments, so there's less stringing out. There's a closer pack here, so as the race keeps going, the guys are going to get their cars even better, Steve, and the racing will tighten up and get closer.
Well, we've seen after that first pit stop, Paul, a lot more downforce put onto the front of the car, across to the front of the wing to try and keep that part of the car stable. That seems to have made a big difference across the pack.
Hey guys, just got an update from race control. We saw that wild restart, pretty slick for Montoya, but the 22 of Simon Pagino and the 27 of Marco Andretti also got a warning, and they were told to stay center line to center line. What do you make of that?
Well, these restarts and starts, other than the Castro Neves, was a really quick start. It was brought down pretty slow, and guys were ready to go in the back there, and obviously Kanaan.
They're by 4 back to Dixon.
Kanaan moving forward. He's a guy that can win here very easily.
See, Munoz just dropped low there to try and have a look round and see what was happening at the front, but it didn't work, and then Kanaan pounced.
Ryan Hunter-Reay now on Scott Dixon. Draws alongside the 3-time champ, and Captain America whistles through. What a frustrating season RHR has had, but a little bit of sunshine back in Iowa. Now, Penske on Penske, Pagino on Montoya. Remember what Paul Tracy said in IndyCar Live at the top of the show? These Penske guys will not be doing each other any favors because they're all mathematically eligible to win this title.
Look at Juan. He's got to watch out for Ed behind him and Sage on the move as well. Sage will not do Montoya any favors because he's working on behalf of Scott Dixon.
The whole face of this race, PT, has changed as we hit lap 51. How it was just 20 laps before.
Well, the guys have got a better... Whoa, that was tight right there. Kanaan chopped across the front of Munoz, and he ran up high, and now his teammate comes around, and Scott Dixon will be looking as well.
Yeah. And thank you very much. And Dixon's in the draft. He has to check up and allow the young Colombian back around him.
Got some racing going on now.
Now we're talking. Here comes Rahal lining up for a shot on Dixon. Gotcha.
Wow, made that look easy, didn't he?
Nice job.
Once you lose your rhythm, it's pretty obvious what happens.
Yeah, it's so important to keep your momentum up and time your passes. As soon as you have to get out of the throttle, it just allows the other guy behind you to pounce.
Ed Carpenter now in the green and gold. Fuzzy's machine. He wants a piece of Sage Karam. These two guys had heated words in Iowa. Do you remember that under the lights? It'll be interesting to see these guys go wheel to wheel. Now Briscoe wants to get in the action.
Outside Marco. 5 back.
Difficult place to pass, too wide in the tunnel turning. Briscoe thought better of that. He backed out of it. Got to retime your pass again.
Up front, it's still Newgarden. There he is. Smooth, efficient, not a problem. If you need a reminder of the bravery of the young man right there in that white, green, and black Honda for Andretti Autosport, Carlos Munoz, just take your mind back to the Indy 500 3 years ago when he was on debut and finished second. It was incredible. Let's ride with Dixon and see what happens here.
You see Dixon, he went to go inside, but there's nowhere to go. He had to get out of the throttle. And as soon as you check the throttle and lose that momentum, here comes Ray Hall, and he just scoots by on the inside. He tries to block, but Ray Hall's already by on the inside.
Well, it doesn't take much, Paul, does it? Just a fraction of a second. Coming off that throttle, lose the momentum, you've lost place. Here comes Kanaan.
For the lead of the race, Tony Kanaan goes to the front for the first time today. The NTT data machine leads the way for Chip Ganassi.
Hey, and already Newgarden wants that position back, doesn't he? He does not like yielding that first position. Now the gap's opening up a little bit.
Let's check in with Jan Beekes. Jan?
A quick update on Scott Dixon, and certainly you documented so well he lost momentum, but they took 3 turns and another move by Munoz, and 3 turns they took out of the rear wing of Dixon. He immediately got on the radio, guys, we went too light. So yes, he lost momentum, but he doesn't have enough downforce. If someone makes a move on him, he can't hang with them.
Look at these guys shadowing each other. Dixon now pulls out of the draft of Hunter Ray and unable to do anything about it.
Yeah, so what they did with Dixon's car is they took some rear downforce off the car. So now he's sliding around a little bit. Now the pack is tighter. He needed less downforce to be able to catch the pack. Now that the pack is tighter, he doesn't have enough downforce to stay close to the other cars.
Now we're into the second quarter of this 500-miler. You kind of feel things ramping up a little bit, don't you? This has got all the ingredients of a classic. Tony Kanaan, the veteran, leads the way at Pocono. He wants to get that win that he feels he should have had last year. Hey, the Premier League continues on NBCSN this weekend. Tomorrow at 2 Eastern, it's Liverpool against Arsenal at the very impressive and beautiful Emirates Stadium. Arsenal-Liverpool tomorrow at 2 Eastern, right here on NBCSN. Look at that crowd. Beautiful afternoon here at Pocono, and they're being treated to quite the race in the Verizon IndyCar Series, the ABC Supply 500. What a day of open wheel racing. All started earlier today from Spa-Francorchamps with the Belgian Grand Prix. And here we go. We finish it off with a 500-miler in IndyCar action. Look at this. Ed Carpenter on the inside of the points leader. This is a spirited run by Carpenter. He really wants to finish his personal season on a high because he won't be at the road course at Sonoma next weekend. As we ride with Ryan Briscoe, the race is led by a man who is in his 248th consecutive IndyCar start. It's Tony Kanaan, who could create a special little piece of history today by becoming the first driver in IndyCar Series history to win a 500-mile race at 4 different tracks. That'd be pretty good for your old pal.
I'll tell you what, Dixon's got to run there. He had a good exit on the corner. He's got nowhere to go again now. So, again, Ryan Hunter-Reay saw that move for him, and he blocked the inside, and there was just nowhere for him to go. And look, he lost that momentum, and here comes Ray Hall again. So it's all about momentum, Steve. If you get that run and you've got nowhere to go, as soon as you have to get out of the throttle on this massive 2.5-mile oval, it really pays you a penalty.
These guys seem to be, Paul, they have about a second and a half to make the move work, or it fails. There's too much drag across the car, you lose the momentum, you've got to pull back in again. I mean, you've got to be so decisive, so fast to make this work.
Yeah, as you see, Briscoe pulled back in line. That is a very, very difficult corner to go too wide, so he wasn't close enough, and he realized instead of getting in there and having to get out of the throttle totally, he just slightly lifted off the throttle, got back in line, and didn't really lose any time.
Charlie Kimball, the man who had that spectacular crash in qualifying yesterday in the Novo Nordisk entry for Chip Ganassi Racing, gets a little bit back, a little bit of a sweetener. He owns the fastest lap of the race thus far as we race lap 64 of 200. And at the moment, he sits 9 positions better than where he started, Steve.
Yeah, Charlie still, Paul, making some adjustments in the car there. We saw his hands coming off the steering wheel. Just trying to fight. Here we go again, look. There it is. It's just not enough, is it?
Munoz on Joseph Newgarden. Canard, Newgarden, Munoz. Here comes the second Andretti Autosport car. Ryan Hunter-Reay pulls out of the draft of his teammate. Is it enough?
You see again, Steve, he wasn't able to pull through on that pass, had to back out, and that left the door open for his teammate to come by. Because as soon as you kill your momentum, the other guy right behind you is ready to go. And we're going to get pit stops any moment because they've been running some long laps here.
Andretti Autosport, well represented, and Marco Andretti doing his best. He's made up 9 spots from his starting position at the back of the pack. Here comes race leader Canard, straight to pit lane. So Tony showed us exactly what he wants to do.
And Newgarden comes in as well.
Kev, take it away. You're up first.
Last time Tony Kanaan took off downforce, they took away wing angle in the rear wing. They didn't touch the front wing. This time dealing with a little bit of understeer, so we'll watch and see what they do to address that. Kanaan trying to win for the first time since the 500-mile race that finished last season at Fontana. Tony Kanaan getting Sunoco fuel, 4 Firestone 4 Harks, and no change in the front wing, Jan.
And he rolls just before does Joseph Newgarden. And of course, it's a battle to the timeline. Joseph Newgarden maintains that position, or in fact, improves position, of course, on Kanaan. That last move, and they're going to battle as they get up to speed. That was by design. The team said, you're burning too much fuel, Joseph. You got to back off. Go ahead and let Kanaan go by. Here come the rest of the group. Katie?
Carlos Munoz was the highest qualifying Andretti Autosport car. He now led a pack of 3 Andretti cars. Are saying work together on this stop. Kevin?
Ryan Hunter-Reay has worked his way up into contention today, starting a little further back than he wanted. He wasn't sure what he had. He was cautiously optimistic with the car. Good stop. Jan?
And Scott Dixon, we'll see if they do take the opportunity. They put a little bit, and they go, yes, they go to the rear wing to add some, but it took precious time, so he lost a few positions for Dixon. And Rahal's got trouble.
And they can't get the fuel nozzle in. They couldn't get the fuel in, and you see the time from the LED display. They've been in the pits now for 26 seconds, and under green flag conditions, a nearly 30-second stop is disastrous.
For the second 500-mile race in a row, there's been a fuel problem, a fuel-related problem for the Steak and Shake machine. Frustration for Ray Hall.
Well, at least this time he didn't leave it plugged in, so he can recover. We're only just over a quarter way in. There's a long way to go.
Simon Pagenaud leading the race, but let's revisit that story. And keep in mind, he did win the race, but he dodged a bullet because this one here evaded race control. They didn't quite get a clear view of this, and even though it caused a full course caution, there was no penalty in the moment for Graham Rahal, and he was able to drive to victory lane. Jan?
Charlie Kimball was bringing this brand new car. Of course, it's a spare car that they rolled out of the transporter. And the fact that earlier you said he did the fastest lap of the race, that shows the kind of preparation. He didn't make the final practice because you can have a spare car, but you can't have a spare car with an engine in it. So he only had 1 lap this morning. And this car obviously came really nicely off the transporter.
Kimball back up to speed. Katie?
Simon Pagenaud said Indianapolis was a very good lesson in staying in the race, both mentally and physically. His team is going to give him 4 Firestone tires and fill him up with Sunoco fuel as he pits from the lead. Kevin?
They added downforce last time for Juan Pablo Montoya. You see him in as Pagenaud pulls away. This time he said it's too slow. Brakes on the front wing as Pagenaud gets out. Montoya follows him. He wanted to be able to trim it out again a little bit.
So as Pagenaud and Juan Pablo Montoya exit, here comes the pack. Ryan Hunter-Ray ahead of Munoz and Canaan as the Penske boys build to speed. Look at the difference there. And Pagenaud far more effectively up to speed.
Car outside.
That shows you what the effect of doing an extra couple laps, Steve. Montoya was running back about 12th or 13th, ran that extra couple laps, and now is in the top 5.
Yeah.
Here's Power.
Will Power, of course, could stop a little bit later than some of the others. Of course, Helio Castro Neves will be the last of the Penske. They make an adjustment as well. Castro Neves, remember, he has a little different strategy as the train rolls on by the front straightaway.
Coming around here, let's try.
And look where Power cycles in, but the pack is up to full speed, 200 plus miles per hour here at the Pocono Raceway. And Will Power desperately trying to get up to speed as the others try to get around him. Here's Castro Neves back on pit road. So too Sato and Vautier, all on the same strategy.
Yes, and Castro Neves only got one more lap than Will Power. That means he's been standing on the gas trying to gain positions. He goes with sticker Firestones, waiting for that last bit. That was a quick, but when they disconnected after getting that Sunoco fuel, it seemed like just a moment before he got going. Let's see where he cycles in.
How about Simon Pagenaud able to get in, get out, and keep the pack at bay for the moment? Here's Elio on the low line. Where's he going to slot back in?
Well, luckily, he'll get up to speed. As soon as he hits the back straightaway, he'll get the toe here, slot into line, and that will help him get up to speed a lot quicker as Munoz and his teammate come around. This will be a brave move here, trying to go 2 abreast as Wilson pulls it off.
Whether it was Art Sincere at HPD at Honda, whether it was Michael Andretti, whomever it was, thank you for putting Justin Wilson back in a race car. So many people pleased to see the lanky Englishman back behind the wheel of an Indy car where he belongs, and again showing just how good he is.
Hunter Ray looks really good today. I think he let Pagenaud back by, and he is content to sit here and ride. He's a cagey driver. He knows how to win 500s. He's won the Indy 500 in the past, so this is a place where he could really have a good day.
Okay, so Mr. Paul Tracy, speaking of Indy 500s, many of your loyal fan base will still argue that you won the 2002 Indy 500. However, this year, Simon Pagenaud was in the mix, and Tim Cindric, president of Penske Racing, said he could have won, but he was impatient. He wanted it too soon in the race. You understand what he's talking about?
Well, of course I do. I would say that I have the same mentality as we watch Rahal come around here. He really is going to need a yellow here because he lost so much time. He's 3/4 of a lap behind now, so he's going to need to catch a break.
Yeah, what do you
Tracy, Ricardo Knott on the radio has been trying to calm Graham down. He was talking just a moment ago. Graham was about, we're going to get lapped. We just don't have enough speed. They said, we're okay. You've still got a full straightaway advantage on the leaders. Stay in it. We can still make something happen out of this. No problem with the fuel nozzle. They just couldn't get it attached, so they didn't have to make any change there. They did get it full of fuel, though, so they don't have to take an extra stop out of this.
It must be so frustrating for Rahal and the crew, but when you look at the Penske guys, there is just something about them, Paul, they just look such a well-drilled crew around. You know, for Rahal with that problem with his fuel hose, again, that's two fuel hose problems in the season that's going to catch him out, but the difference between the crews is quite incredible.
Let's not forget that at Iowa Speedway, Rahal went down as much as 2 laps behind the leader and came back to finish in the top 4. We've got a long way to go, and nobody knows that better than the 16-time Indy 500 winning team owner, Roger Penske. His man's up front. Couldn't ask for a better afternoon to finish this amazing weekend of motorsport we've had here on your home of motorsport, NBCSN. Here in the Pocono Mountains, we have got a beautiful day and a terrific race and a new race leader. Helio Castro Neves has been carving them up. He's been going the high side, the low side, whatever works. And this man here, who is still in search, yes, even as a 3-time Indy 500 winner, he's still in search of his maiden IndyCar title. And look at this, to the oohs and the ahs of the crowd, he was able to do it.
Well, he made a bunch of changes on the first 2 stops. He's been up and down on the front wing, trying to get the balance right. And since he came out of this last round of pit stops, he's been rocking and rolling. He's passed about 5 cars and 3 cars in succession in the last 3 laps and into the lead.
How about that, Steve?
Well, the balance of the car has changed completely, but you're right. I mean, the fans around the grandstands, a great salute there of everything that Castellanos has done. Jan?
And with Roger Penske on the radio with Elio, he's flying. Have you turned him loose and told him to use fuel?
Well, I think we got the car the way we want it now. We had a good stop there. I think the strategy on the field was good. We sat back there to get a couple extra laps to get caught up, but a long way to go, 120 laps, so I think we need to stay focused here. He's doing a great job.
Elio keeps saying you need to do something different. Are you doing something different right now than the others?
Well, I think we're different. We're leading right now.
Thank you, Roger.
And Jan, to your point, Elio really is doing something different because Pagenaud was playing a more strategical game. When Elio went by him, his first lap in the lead was 9 miles an hour faster than the last lap that Pagenaud had led. So there's the difference in their outlook.
You can see his car is handling really well. He's not having to float up to the wall. He's able to run a tighter lines, which means the handling is good. The car is fast. He's pulling away from his teammates. So he's got a car that's on rails right now.
Absolutely transformed. For the first few laps, it was nowhere close to being correct. Look at it now.
Look at this guy, Danger Boy. We're going to start calling him Sage Danger Boy. He's up there racing with power. He's been mixing it up with Ed, and here he comes on power again.
A rookie on the reigning series champion. There's no lack of bravery from either of these men.
Still down there.
You know the movie that's been getting some pretty good reviews and very popular, Straight Outta Compton?
Yeah.
Sage Karen put a social media message recently, Straight Outta Nazareth. Nazareth, Pennsylvania. He's proud of his home state and his hometown, and this is his home track. And his first appearance in an IndyCar here. He wants to perform for his family and friends. Look at the gap. The 2 Brazilians up front, Castro Neves and Canaan. Here comes RHR. Ryan Hunter-Ray wants third as he sweeps under Simon Pagenaud. Nobody's led more laps in this race, though, than Joseph Newgarden, who's a little further back. And Karam, the rookie, around the outside of Carlos Munoz.
Not afraid, is he, Steve?
There is no fear there. There is no fear.
Oh, to be 19 again.
Well, and we've just been talking about the same thing there. As we look at our Chevrolet driver profile there, as Lee was saying, straight out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania, 13 career IndyCar starts. And yeah, there is no fear when you're a young race driver.
And look at that in the New York Times, the new face of IndyCar racing. Yep, he'll take that. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of fans will as well. He's got an exciting style. It may not be compliant with his peers. Hey, but you were that way as well.
I'll tell you what, I saw his dad in the... Oh, here we go.
That's Jack Hawksworth.
That is not what these guys wanted. Jack was struggling at the back, but wow.
Jack Hawksworth and Charlie Kimball. And neither driver was happy with each other. Second crash in 2 days for Charlie Kimball. Uncharacteristic for the Californian. He gets going and leaves the stranded Hawksworth. Only the replay will decipher what happened here.
Now be careful there when you have your front wing stuffed underneath the car that can lift the car off, the front wheels off the ground, Steve, and end up putting you in the wall.
So easily done. I remember...
So as the whole Matro safety team arrive, let's have a look, fellas.
On board with Charlie in this newly built car from yesterday's accident.
Oh.
Whoa! Jeebus.
Well, we'd like to see a different angle, but it looks like Hawksworth was there and Charlie turned in and they touched wheels, and as we see, he's there. Charlie came down. Oh, he got a little loose.
Yeah.
So Hawksworth got squeezed down tight and he got loose and it stepped up and into Charlie, and then that was it.
You're right, it was the rear of the car, wasn't it? Just broke free a little bit on Hawksworth and then just came up into Charlie Kimball.
It was a little late getting in there. It was a late pass, but he was there. And obviously got loose because he was down low on that yellow line. The car got loose and bounced off of Charlie, and then obviously he spun right in front of him. nowhere for Charlie to go.
Nowhere for Charlie to go, and I imagine Hawksworth is going to say the same thing. Where did you want me to go?
Problem they have with the big accident yesterday is they might not have the spares to fix this because he had a massive shunt yesterday.
This is it. In excess of 200 miles an hour. Single car qualifying. It ended like this. Oh, that's violent. So violent. And he came away with a scratch on his chin. Seriously. That was all. Speaking volumes as to the safety of modern-day Indy cars and IndyCar racing. Look at that. Straight away, the thumbs up from Charlie Kimball. Jan?
And when you talk about that, I spoke to Dr. Terry Trammell, told me it was 85 Gs to the left, 40 Gs to the front, and the way they compute that, a total of 94 G impact for Charlie Kimball, and he gave the thumbs up. Nicely done. Now for Joseph Newgarden, we've seen that he dropped back, and that's because the car in traffic picked up understeer. So this caution comes at a perfect time. They can add some downforce, I think specifically to the front. Remember, he was leading, and they got his car tuned up to lead. Now he dropped back to 13th, and they don't have the right setup, but now they have a chance to correct it.
Nobody even close to the amount of laps led as Joseph Newgarden, 47 of the 86 thus far for Newgarden. And look at the scramble on pit lane. Kev, take it away. You're lucky number one.
Graham Rahal is all the way back in 19th position. Ahead of him, we're going to watch Juan Pablo Montoya as we watch everyone come into their stalls. A very busy pit lane. There's Rahal hitting his marks, and he is going to try to find something to make up some speed. Montoya is going to try to add a little bit of downforce, Jan.
And Castro Neves, whoa, look out, that's Will Power. Will Power lights it up, and can Scott Dixon get by? He does. I was just about to say.
The call from the president of Penske Racing, Tim Cindric. Go get him.
Pull him back and we'll start him.
He will not lose a lap. I was going to say that Castro Neves had no changes. He got out clearly ahead of anyone else. And, of course, Power was trying to make up that difference. And this is a very slick concrete patch. Too much wheel spin.
We'll get the starter. We're fine. They're on the back straight.
Look on replay of that.
He had
See
the
what we can
tires
see.
lit up here, and he had to get it out around Dixon's car. And the guy's the tire man there, and he whipped it out, and around it went. That's how slick it is on cold tires. So, I mean, it was tough getting out around Dixon's car with a busy pit lane. Dixon's like, where do I go? Should I go around or should I go to the inside?
To the left, to the right.
Reigning champ is released. Awkward moment, but fortunately for Will Power and his team, it happened under caution. Our fourth full course yellow of the day for 15 laps. The collision between Jack Hawksworth and Charlie Kimball. It will be cleaned up and we'll go back racing. You're watching IndyCars here on NBCSN.